Everybody, welcome to another episode of Get Into It with Gila. I'm Gila Glassberg, your host, and today I have on Tzivi Polatoff slash Azos. Did I say it right?
Azos
Azos.
with a
Okay,
Z.
with the Z. Tzivi Polatoff is my first cousin. That's my maiden name, and now Tzivi is newly married, so she has a new last name.
Yeah.
So Tzivi, I thought you would be such a good guest to come on my podcast because you've also struggled with food-related issues and body image things. And why don't you just start off by telling the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Tzivi Polatoff Azos. Born and raised for Rockaway, New York. Um, yeah, Gila's my first cousin. I'm currently finishing up my bachelor's in psychology, and I am a preschool teacher at the JCC. Yeah, I have 12 2-year-olds that I get to hang out with every day.
That's a lot of 2-year-olds.
Yeah, but they're so much fun. They're so
I know
funny.
they are really funny. I have an almost 2-year-old and he happens to be hilarious. So I can't imagine
So
like
cute.
12 of them. It's funny when you say that you're born and raised in Rockaway because I'm like born and raised in Scranton, but like I
I
think of you
know.
as from Scranton, but obviously you're not.
Everyone thinks I'm from Scranton because I kind of have like a little bit of like I don't have the New York accent. I have like more out of town. So no
When you
one
say
guesses that I'm from New
Scranton,
York. Well,
Scranton, it's
that's
like
how I grew up with
I
it.
know,
I was
I know.
I was there every other week.
Just for some context, there's three siblings, my dad, your dad, and then
Hmm.
the sister. And so my
Yeah.
dad and Aunt Shani, we all lived in Scranton. So you were like the
Hmm.
outsider here in New York,
We were so outsiders, but both my grandparents live there.
Right.
So strong Scrantonian roots.
Yes, and you guys, I guess it's funny. You're really literally the only ones in New York because like all your
Yeah.
and cousins. Anyways, but now we live near each other.
Yes.
Okay, so if you don't mind, tell us
Hmm.
like where did your journey begin when it comes to like
Hmm.
body image, food related issues? Like start from the beginning.
So it all started in seventh grade. I was more aware of bodies, um, in like not a creepy way. I definitely struggled a lot that year. It happens to be it was a really big year, just like with things in general. It
Hmm.
started off with Sandy, where our
Oh,
house, well, we got completely uprooted for 6 weeks. We were living in someone's basement. Um, and there I guess I was like finally around a girl my age because I have two older brothers. So in my house, it was kind of like sports life. So like
it
the
still
idea of
is.
like
It still is.
it still
Yes.
is, but at least I got two girls after me. So like we
Yeah.
kind of a little.
Yeah.
Um but it was more focused on that. Like I wasn't even like aware. I was like, oh, whatever. Like I'll just play hockey when I get home. Like it wasn't anything. And then we were living in someone's house and they had a daughter a year older than me. And that was like, I guess my first time being in like close quarters, someone my age, where I was like, oh, like she was kind of like focusing on like we were having salad every night and like we would have vegetables, but it wasn't like officially like, okay, we're having salad tonight with our soup, with
Hmm.
our dinner.
Hmm.
Um, like my mom would always make balanced meals, but it wasn't like it
Yeah.
was like cut up vegetables. Like it wasn't like,
Right.
oh yeah, they're just there. Um, and I kind of just became aware of everything. I wasn't like a small kid. I was always on the chubbier side. And that was kind of when like I started to realize like, wait, like I'm wearing a size 16 uniform shirt. Like that's quite large for a 12-year-old. And I don't even know where it like started. It was just my head. I was just like, wait, is this normal? Like I got really self-conscious about everything. And I just kind of went in like a downward spiral. Um, Eighth grade was really bad because you started with like yearbook pictures and everyone wanted to get their makeup done
So
and their hair
young. It's so
done.
young. Like when you look back on it,
It's
you
so
realize
little.
it's
It's
really young.
so little. And like that was even, it wasn't even like weight then. It was more of like body image. I was just like, wait, I have curly, frizzy hair. I don't
Hmm.
wear makeup. Like it was just kind of where like my phase of like, wait, I shouldn't be a tomboy. Like I
Hmm.
shouldn't want to go home and do like football clinics with my brother on the back
Right.
porch.
Right.
I should be doing other things. I should be learning how to put on makeup. Like what is mascara?
Hmm.
Um,
That's funny. Can I stop you for a second? So in
yeah.
seventh grade, was this before sleepaway camp?
No, I had gone to sleepaway camp, but I guess in sleepaway camp, it was all, I started going to sleepaway camp the summer after third grade. And
Wow. That's really young. That's what I thought. That's why when you said like the
yeah,
first
I
time I
started really, but like in sleepaway camp, it was so different because it's like we were all gross in sleepaway camp. Like our campus was disgusting. Um, your sister was there one year in our old campus,
okay, I
and
won't say
it
which
was
camp.
it was disgusting, like absolutely disgusting. And then when we came to the other campus, like I guess it was just like that thing where like everyone was like in agreement, like we're here to play sports, we're here to have fun.
Hmm.
It wasn't like a girly like Fritzy camp when I was there.
Right,
Like we were just there to have fun. So no one
right.
really thought about that in camp. It was just like, okay, like we're gonna go slide in the mud. We'll take a shower after, but like we'll go slide in the mud because it's raining. So why
It's
not?
so fun. It's like how it should be, like we shouldn't be like obsessed with
Yeah.
the way we look now, like as
Yeah.
adults, for sure not as kids.
Yeah. No, camp was like the greatest time. I think I also, because I was so into sports, like I didn't mess with the girls who are like doing their hair before Shabbos when we were younger. Because I was like, but like we can be playing outside. Why are
Right,
we going to be sitting in here doing this?
right. I think it speaks to the way that you were raised also that there wasn't like such a big emphasis on like the thin ideal and the way that people look,
Yeah.
right? It was like that's just like not, I think that's
Yeah, it wasn't even like brought up. Like the first time,
right.
it's funny because the first time I even heard of like whole wheat or anything was when you were living in our
Oh
house.
God, it's from me. For sure it was from me. Like I will take that blame when like what was it like 15 years ago, 14 years
So
ago?
long ago.
I know because
But like,
Sandy, I was pregnant with Shayna, my oldest, who's 11. So
Simo was
that's
living by us.
right, my other sister. But okay,
Yeah.
so one second. So seventh grade. So it sounds like before that time of seventh grade, you didn't really like think about the way you looked. You just looked the way you
No.
looked and like it was chilled.
Yeah, I didn't care. Like now looking back, I'm just like, oh my God. Like it's something so stupid. My bat mitzvah dress was sent to us by accident when we did a Pesach order by JCPenney. And it just
JC
like showed up
Penney.
in the box.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, "Oh, it's perfect. That's what you'll wear." And like, I didn't care. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's what I'm gonna wear." And now I'm looking back and I'm like, "Oh gosh, why with the white shell under the black dress?" Like,
Everybody wore that then.
I know, but like, it's just funny because I was just like, "Oh yeah, it showed up by accident. It must have just been the thing. Like, that's what
Meant
I
to
have to
be,
wear."
yeah.
Yeah,
Totally. Yeah, like you were
like I
super
didn't
and you
care.
you she was chilled, you were chilled, and it was just like which maybe it
Yeah.
was a little bit like different than the kids around you because like not everybody in Farrockaway is like that.
Well, definitely when I was growing up, Farrakhan was more like that. Like the Farrakhan I grew up with versus now is completely different.
It was like less materialistic. I'm not putting down Farrockaway, but I'm saying like whatever.
It
Like
was also like, I don't know, I feel like Farrakhan is becoming the new Brooklyn.
right.
And Farrakhan used to be like the out of town town.
I love when people say that. I'm from Queens. I'm from out of town. I'm like, what? Do you know
No,
what
it's like
Scranton
it's
is?
not out of town. Right. But like
Yeah,
that was also the house I grew up in.
right. Right. It's
Like
true.
I
Both of
grew
your parents are out of towners.
yeah, so like I tell people, I'm like, yeah, we've had people drive to our Shabbos meals. And they're like, what
Right.
are you talking about?
Right.
I
Right.
was like, yeah,
Totally.
we'd leave the driveway open because there's no parking by our street. Like
We should actually just like leave your parents' name and number here because like your parents like have a literally open house. Like when I was living there, people would just come in and take naps and your parents could not
besides from the
everybody
naps.
most people aren't like that.
I know my parents after Sandy didn't change the code because they would have had to send out a mass email.
It's hysterical. It's true.
They've had, yeah.
Yeah,
Like people used to come to our house, they knew where the dishes were, they'd just take them, set their own Shabbos place. And we're just like,
totally.
oh, okay,
It was so
you're
nice.
here.
I remember that. It was so nice. Now I live in Windermere,
So
really
much
far
fun.
away, but my
I
my
know.
my Faroukaway siblings still do that.
Yeah. Are you
Yeah,
kidding me? They love it. My dad loves when people come and call him Uncle Yahoo, which like
yeah, that's
only your family does.
right. I mean, yeah, he's Uncle Yahoo. That's just his name. And so do my kids. My kids call him Uncle Yahoo too.
I know. And it's very funny because the Farakwe cousins are a lot more shy than your kids.
My kids are not
Like
shy.
they'll come in
Yeah,
and they take a few minutes to like warm up
yeah,
to everyone.
yeah.
and my mom takes out the same exact toys for every single cousin.
Well, your mom's the
It's like these
best.
little like figurine, like Disney figurines
Of course,
that we got.
Disney.
15 years old. They were
Disney
bought
everything.
when my youngest sister was born. Once Flora was born, that's when they were bought, and they've been entertaining cousins for 15 years.
Well, just so you know, whoever's listening, your mother's more Marnie, so people don't anyone have to say more Marnie. Everyone knows your aunt's more Marnie. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
more Marnie. She is really the best. Okay, anyway, so let's go
Hmm.
back to seventh grade.
Yes.
So, so
Hmm.
that so you Sandy happened, which would you say that like just that in and of itself was traumatic, just like moving out of your house, or was it
Oh
nothing to do
yeah.
with that? Oh, okay, fine.
No, it was definitely traumatic. We also stayed. We
In
we
the house.
stayed in the
Oh,
house
during
at
yeah, I remember.
the electricity went out in 1 in the afternoon and everyone's evacuating. And my dad's like, nah, it's fine. It's gonna be like Irene. It's totally fine. Us and my next door neighbors, we were the only people in, I want to say Rockaway. We were the only people on our block for sure. And we were there, no power, literally listening to the water rushing into the house. And yeah, that was definitely traumatic. I thought
So
I was
scary.
gonna die.
It's so scary. It's so scary.
Yeah.
Right. And also like your at first your parents thought like the house was fine.
Hmm.
And
But
then
the
like the
first floor was done.
right. The water came into the walls and like ruined your whole
Hmm.
first floor.
Yeah.
And then you didn't have electricity, so you had to move out.
Yeah. And it was so cold. But my mom was very hesitant about moving out because she was scared of looters.
Right.
So my dad actually concocted a plan and had my younger siblings kidnapped by the people we were eventually going to stay at. My dad's like, yeah, 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 they're at their house. Like, we'll just go pick them up. Meanwhile, my dad had our bags packed. Like, we were not staying another night. It was so cold.
Oh my gosh, that's so your dad and your mom. Wow. On all levels. Okay, so
Like, it
you
was
moved
so
in,
cold.
but it was a good friend of your mom's who you moved in.
Yeah, we're still very close with them.
Okay, so you moved
Yeah.
in and then there was
Mhm.
like this like body comparison, which is like so normal,
Yeah.
especially like
Yeah.
and then but that for you like really spurred like negative body image.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was
Like,
seventh grade.
yeah, that was seventh grade.
And then eighth grade it got really bad.
Yeah, eighth grade was when it got really bad. And like, it's funny when I think back and I'm like, where did these ideas even come to me? When eighth grade was when I started not eating,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is like anyone who knows me, it's like the craziest thing to think of now because I love food. I
I
love
also
it.
love food. Yeah.
And like in my house, we always had ice cream, which love.
Yeah.
Like we used to go every Saturday night to get ice cream at Carvel because like that's apparently what you did out of town. So that's what we had
Yeah.
to do in Rockaway.
In town.
Um, and
Also, your
I
mom loves
just
ice cream. Like she would eat ice cream like
she
every single night.
loves it. She used to send me emails in camp like, okay, it's late. I gotta go have my ice cream. And I was just like, you can't send that to me. I'm in camp. I don't have access to that.
It's so cute.
Um, yeah. And so I just stopped eating because I was like, oh yeah, no, this is definitely what is going to help me get to my ideal body, which I don't even think I had an ideal body at that point. But I was just like, yeah, this is definitely what I'm supposed to do. And then if I ate something, I would like punish myself by making myself throw up because
So
I
you
was
don't know where
like,
you got that idea from?
no, I don't even know. Like, happens to be, I have a really bad gag reflex.
Mm.
Um, yeah, my dentist used to get really mad at me. Um, and I don't even know how I thought about it.
Do you think it
I
was
was
from
like, oh, I
movies
take
or
one in. No, because as much as like, yeah, we had TV, I wasn't able to watch like real things. Like the first
right?
TV show I ever watched was like Once Upon a Time, and I was much older than like the intended age for that to be. Um, yeah, like I never watched a movie that discussed mental health or anything like that. Um,
Did you
it
read
was
any
just something.
books? Do you think you got it from a friend or mom, or you just really just it came to you?
No, like even to this day, I don't know of any friends that like dealt with anything like this. Like me and my friends are really open about a lot of things.
Right.
This is just one thing that like to this day I'm not like I just don't think any of them had
Right.
dealt with that.
Right.
Um yeah, I like it's still like to, like this day I'm just like what like where did I get this idea? Like
Right.
where did it come from?
Right. So you okay, whatever. It's probably from combination of things that like you realize
Yeah.
or like you thought like if I eat less, I'll lose weight, and if I
Hmm.
lose weight, I'll be like prettier or more loved or whatever. Most kids get that
Yeah.
for some horrible reason. We deliver that message to kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
yeah, makes sense.
yeah, that was eighth grade. And then did people start complimenting you? Did people start noticing what was going on?
So not really in eighth grade. Um, when I think that like made me even more determined because I was like, oh, I'm not doing enough. Like no one's noticing anything. Um, so like I don't think anyone realized in eighth grade that anything was going on.
Did your parents know?
Um, I don't think they realized to what extent if they did know anything was going on. Um, because also I happen to be a really jokey person.
Right,
Um, so even like when I go through things, like people are just like, wait, is something happening? Or like
right.
what's happening?
You put up a good
Um,
show.
yeah, it's like my big coping mechanism
Right,
is jokes,
right.
which I definitely get from my dad.
Someone I know well. Oh my gosh.
Who gets
Okay,
it from
so
his mom.
oh yes, Bubby. Oh my gosh. I really need to bring Bubby on the podcast. You know, like that famous grandmother on TikTok? Like that would be
There's
our
so
grandmother.
many. There's so many.
What our grandmother would win.
I'm gonna be with her for Pesach, so I'll have
You'll get her
technology. You can
on.
do it.
Yeah, you'll get
Yeah, yeah.
her. Okay, so I'm just trying to think of the order. So eighth grade. So also, did you
Mhm.
feel guilty about throwing up? Like, did you have any feelings of like shame or guilt?
No, in like a weird way, I felt like I guess like
Powerful?
I was accomplishing something. I was
Right.
like, oh yeah, I made a pact that I wasn't going to eat before 1 o'clock. And every day I got that, I was like, I did it. And
Mm-hmm.
then
So sad.
I think every time I like threw up, I was just like, oh, no one caught me. Like,
Right.
look at what I was able to do. Like, no one knows what's going on.
So
So
you don't have to answer, but was there any other stuff going on like that you
in
think?
eighth grade, no. In eighth grade, no. Um, High school was not a great time.
But I mean, like, let's say, like you said, like you don't even know where you got the idea to throw up or anything like
Hmm.
that. Do you think a lot of times people with like anorexia, bulimia, that's like that is their coping mechanism? Like, let's say you said you wanted to get attention, you wanted to like
Hmm.
accomplish like why? Because maybe you weren't good at school, maybe you weren't getting enough attention at home or from your friends or whatever. That is usually what happens.
Yeah. Um, no. So nothing was really going on. Like after like a lot of therapy, like I've realized that there was guilt going on and it was kind of my way as much as like in the moment I thought like, oh, look at what I'm accomplishing was
Right,
kind of my way of being like, no, like you did something, I'm feeling guilty about it, so we're not gonna eat. We're not gonna let you enjoy.
right, right. It was like punishment,
Yeah.
like self-sabotage. That's part of it too.
Yeah, but it wasn't something that like I realized until like
Right, right.
years after that that's what
Yeah.
was happening.
Right. It's for sure not like a conscious choice, especially when you're in like seventh, eighth grade. It just like kind of happens.
Yeah.
So then ninth grade, you were not
Ninth
happy.
grade. No, I was not happy. Ninth grade was kind of like that awkward, like I think everyone has an awkward ninth grade.
Yeah.
Um, but I didn't want to be in the high school I was in.
Hmm.
Um, like the school had already changed, not to like as much as it has now, but I was in Beis Yaakov and my family is not a Beis Yaakov family.
Right.
Um, we might be like out of town Beis Yaakov, but not like far
In
Rockaway Beis
town. Yeah.
Yaakov at all.
Right.
Um,
Which is really
and
hard just for like moms listening. Like it is really hard when like your kid's in the wrong school for them and like you're obviously doing the best you can as a parent. And it's just like sometimes that just happens. Like especially
yeah,
in town. It's like if you don't fit a certain box, you like really stand out, unfortunately.
yeah. They're also like now there, I think there's one mo like main community school in the five towns. Like then it was either you were in Beis Yaakov or you were in SK.
Right.
And like it just wasn't my family didn't fit in either of those boxes.
Right.
Um, and it was kind of like, okay, well, I've been in the school since kindergarten, so we're just going to
Right.
continue.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think it was the school's fault. Like, I don't think that, I think if I was in any other school, I still would have gone through everything, but I don't think it helped.
Right. That's a good way of
Um,
looking at it. That's a mature way of looking at it.
yeah, because I don't think like the school didn't do anything to me.
Right. Right.
And the school was actually very supportive throughout all
Mm-hmm.
4 years. They were really supportive. It was just kind of more in me losing myself because
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, my family does XYZ, but the school says we're not allowed to.
Right. It's very
Um,
confusing.
yeah, it was definitely very confusing. Um, it wasn't like we were doing bad things. It was just like,
Right.
oh, like big example. I went on a Pesach program. I worked in the day camp. We were not allowed to work anywhere that boys were employed.
Right.
So that was like a big taboo where like no one can find out I was working in the day camp. And
Mm-hmm.
meanwhile, my dad worked on the program. It
Right.
wasn't like I was going on a program as a single
Right.
girl, like with friends. Like
Right.
my siblings went to the day camp. Like,
Right. Right.
but that like we couldn't let them know because
Right.
that wasn't allowed.
Right.
So
That's
that
very
definitely
hard.
didn't, yeah, it definitely didn't help.
So was it the fact that ninth grade, was it, did you have friends? Was it a social thing or was it just feeling like you didn't,
No,
you were never,
I had a great group of friends throughout the entirety of high school. I had a great group of friends. Um, I don't like now that like I had mentioned about like the guilt. Like now I'm
Mhm.
realizing that that had played a huge part. That there was some like personal family things that like I blame myself for that like that played a huge part in it.
Mhm.
Um, but like starting in like ninth grade, I kind of just felt alone because my friends were fitting into high school. They're like
Mhm.
getting it, and I just
Mhm.
didn't. I didn't get it
Mhm.
in whatever way you get high school.
Right.
Like
I get it. High school is really hard. It
high
is.
school was, yeah. Um,
Yes.
I wasn't a bad student either. Like
Like
I
you did well
did,
academically?
I did fine. Like yeah, I wasn't in honors.
Mhm.
I always struggled in the Hebrew subjects, so like being put in like modified as they called it, I was
Right.
just like, oh yeah, no, I just can't let anyone know that I'm a granddaughter of a rabbi. But
Mhm. Mhm.
it was it was more of like a struggle with like the language. So I was like, okay, like if I get English tests and they call it modified,
Right.
that's better for me. Like,
I also
I
got
still,
that, by the way, and I still
yeah,
can't speak any Hebrew or understand any Hebrew. It's like really funny. But it's not like language and like different things are on different sides of your brain. So like some people are
yeah,
just stronger in language, it's just the way it is.
yeah.
But it could make you, I felt so stupid about that when I was in high school.
Oh,
Like,
I
and
was
it
so proud of it.
really,
Yeah, I used to like make fun of my friends. I was like, you have homework? Like, what is that?
I was like, wow, I'm really dumb. Like, I'm just like the dumbest. I feel like that does make some kids feel really dumb. Like, like
Right.
it could.
No, I totally like the fact that they called it modified and they like had
Yeah.
an M on our schedule, like
Right.
really big blows to ego. But
Yeah,
I was just
totally.
like
You
I
were
personally
happy in
think
that way that you didn't have more
we had the
homework.
better teachers.
Right, right.
I know
It doesn't always
controversial, but
work like that, by the way. It doesn't always work like that. A
I
lot of
know.
times it's the opposite. It's really sad. Anyways, we don't have to talk about this. It's too sad for me. But this is not about me. This is about you. But our stories do
Yeah.
kind of overlap in a lot of ways, actually. I'm thinking about that now. Um, but mine started in high school. So yours started much
Right.
younger, very, very young. I would say it's probably harder in New York. It probably is just harder in New York with,
Yeah. Yeah.
so when you say it got really bad in ninth grade, what happened?
Um, I started really feeling like anxiety and depression, but I didn't know what it was. I was just in a really like dark place, but it was something where like I was feeling that way, but I couldn't tell anyone. It was like
Hmm.
a secret because no one had ever spoken about that. I was
Right.
just like, oh, I'm just feeling really sad and like don't want to go anywhere and just want to curl up and be like by myself. Um,
And did people kind of think you were just like introverted? Like people didn't look at it as like depression?
yeah, because I was going to school. Like
Right.
I just wasn't, I don't know, I just wasn't being like out in the open. But like if my friends invited me to go somewhere, I would go.
Hmm.
I didn't want to be there,
Right.
but like I would go. Um, it also like to this day, I don't know if this was just in my head or like reality, but I always felt like no one was inviting me. I was the one initiating.
Hmm.
So like if I didn't initiate, I knew I would have been in my bedroom way more.
Hmm.
So I was sometimes like, oh no, like why am I staying in my bedroom for like 5 Sundays in a row? I have to call someone. I have to go out. Like this isn't normal.
Mm.
Um, Even though all I wanted to do was curl into a ball and stay under the covers and not leave.
Were you like just lying there? Were you like watching movies? Or were you just like really depressed?
Um, I was definitely really depressed. Yeah, YouTube was such a dangerous hole.
Mm.
But like looking back, I did like the weirdest YouTube dives when I was depressed. Like I could tell you some random facts about like the Challenger explosion. Um,
I'm not sure what that
because
is. What is that?
it's a spacecraft that exploded.
Oh, okay.
I've listened to the last what's it called? The last like recording before it exploded.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like it wasn't a happy YouTube deep
Right.
dive.
Right. That doesn't sound happy at all. Was it to help you just like zone out because it was like so
Yeah.
far-fetched what you're going through?
Yeah. That's also I was always a big reader, but starting in ninth grade, I really got into like fantasy and like the most fiction I can find
Mm.
because I would lose myself.
Right.
I would get into a book and I'm not getting up until I'm done
Right. Totally.
because it wasn't reality. And
Right.
like it was a safe spot because books were always my safe space. So like I just got into super fiction and I was just like, okay, like this is where I am and this is just what I'm gonna do.
So basically, like during the week, you seemed like you were totally fine, and then it was like Shabbos, Sunday that you just kind of like isolated.
So during the week in school, I seemed totally fine. I would come home. I think there might have been an indent in the couch to where I sat all day. Like I would come home and literally not move.
Right. So it's interesting though, because on the couch you were with your family. It wasn't like you were so super
Right.
isolated.
Because if I went to my room, then someone would have known something was up. And
Mm.
like the nights that I would go to my room, I would be forced more to go down for dinner.
Mm.
And if I was on the couch, it was kind of like, okay, like she's on the couch, she'll eat when she eats.
Hmm.
And it was a lot easier to be like, I guess forgotten.
So that was like your plan. Like, oh, if I go
Yeah,
upstairs and I like kind of just like do my own thing, they'll figure it out.
yeah, yeah. Because
And
we
you
had
didn't
that
want
one
to be
spot.
figured out.
No, no. We had that one spot. I don't know if you remember, like right behind the recliner. It was like a little corner where we used to like, if you wanted to stay up late, that's where you stayed because no one looks there. So that was like my spot because no one looked there. Like you'd be forgotten there for hours,
Because it's
and
behind
that
the
was my spot.
wall. That's why, right? Because it's
Yeah,
behind
it
the
was
wall.
it
Yeah.
was like behind the recliner, which was like in the middle for it was a terrible layout. Um, but like behind the recliner, so like don't look there because no one's gonna sit there. You can't see the TV,
Right.
even though like it's very clearly in the open. But like
Right.
that's where people would just forget people sat.
Yeah. Again, your house is like Grand Central Station, so also just like, like it's easy to kind of just like sit on that couch or sleep
Yeah.
on the couch, even if you're like not
Mhm.
related.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm pretty sure only non-related people slept on the couch.
yeah. Yeah.
Everyone
I mean,
related had a room at one point.
right. That's true. I had a room. So okay, so let me just get this straight. So basically
Mhm.
seventh, eighth grade, okay, ninth grade, did the like
Mhm.
would you say like you were really bulimic? Like would you say the bulimia got worse? Was it
Yeah, yeah. Like if any food came in, it was not staying down.
so you really weren't taking in calories?
No, but I think I felt more defeated about that than anything because I wasn't losing weight
Hmm.
because my body must have been like absorbing
Yeah,
whatever it could get
right.
and I wasn't losing any weight.
Hmm.
Um, like I'm looking back at pictures now and in the moment I thought I was the biggest human being.
Hmm.
Like I'm looking back at pictures and I'm like, oh my God, I was so small.
Yeah,
Like so small.
yeah.
Um, but like really I started up more with the anorexia versus the bulimia in 10th grade.
Hmm.
Like I wasn't taking in any food.
Hmm. For how long?
Um, I want to say like it sounds crazy, but like I want to say like my longest was like 4 days without any food.
So how did your parents not pick that up? You think they did and they were just like in denial?
Um, I think there was a lot of denial. Um, But I would also say like, oh yeah, I ate. Like you just didn't realize. Like I ate.
Hmm.
At one point I was taking like if there was sauce on the dinner, I would take a plate, put some sauce on it, put it in the garbage, and I was like, yeah, I
Hmm.
ate. Look, it was there.
Right. Right.
Um,
We're gonna have to
yeah,
put a major trigger warning at the at the front of this because it's like, yeah,
ideas.
it's
I'm
I
sorry.
didn't. No, it's okay. I'm gonna make sure that like people who can't listen to this won't because it's like it could be very triggering.
Yeah,
But again, it's like interesting because it's not like you've got a lot of like when I was in high school, I was so dumb, but we had to read a book about anorexia in ninth grade, and it's like everybody knows now, like you're literally like teaching people how to be like
right. You're giving
anorexic.
ideas.
Yeah, and again, you didn't like have any friends that were like bulimic or anorexic or anything like that. You
No. It was also one of those things where like now I feel like people talk about therapy a lot
yeah,
more,
yeah, for sure.
but like the idea of therapy was like, what are you talking about?
Did you
Like
want to
now,
tell your parents?
there was a part of me that wanted to tell my dad, just because I felt like he might have more resources,
Hmm.
um, because he is on Hatzel and like I know he'd experience things like this and like had
Right,
dealt with things.
right.
Um, I was very scared of telling my mom
Hmm.
because I didn't want to let her down.
Right,
Because like to me, my mom is perfect.
right.
As like she is the epitome of what I want to be. And like the idea of telling her like, oh yeah, I don't feel good about something or I'm trying to avoid something, I'm trying to change myself. Like I was just
Hmm.
like, oh, she didn't have to do this. So this is just gonna be like a
Right,
failure.
right. Even though your mom's so not like that, and she's like,
No, not at
yeah,
all. She's the
yeah.
best.
Yeah, no, she really is the best. I love you, Marnie, if you're listening. Um, so then, um, okay, so what happened? Like, how did people end up eventually figuring it out?
So really I made it through 10th grade.
Were you feeling
Um
really sick? Did you feel like shaky? Did you feel like something was up?
yeah, I felt crazy like weak.
Right,
Um I also used to do sit-ups like nonstop. And I was like, I am the strongest person.
right,
Um,
totally.
but it was, I want to say it was 10th grade. And I remember what we were having for dinner, that my mom kind of like called me out. We're having spaghetti and meatballs. I could still smell the garlic bread in the oven.
Also, your mom's a
Um,
really good cook. I'm just saying.
oh good. It's so
Yeah,
good. I don't know what I
yeah.
was doing. And um, and I remember me and my sister had gotten into a fight. And you know the layout of our house.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember where the timeout spot was. And like it's crazy to think like I was in 10th grade in the middle floor. You know how the bathroom's in kind of a nook?
Yeah.
That's where my mom put us when we were
Both of
like
you?
small children. She put both of us because we were having a really bad fight. Um, and my mom was like giving it to us, and she's like, and you're gonna go sit in the kitchen and you're gonna go eat dinner. And then she looked at me, she's like, and I know you haven't eaten, and you're gonna eat tonight. And like I broke down. I broke
Mm,
down on everything. Um, I think like even after that happened, there was still a bit of denial
hmm.
because like just to hear like be like, wait, what? This is happening in our house?
Right.
Like what on earth?
I'm sure your parents didn't know then, like when your mom said that. Like,
Oh, 100%. My like
yeah,
my parents knew everything.
right.
They know everything that ever happened
Yeah.
on that house.
Yes, they do.
Um, and so she basically like force fed me
Hmm.
and didn't let me upstairs or into any bathroom like for the rest of the night.
Hmm.
And I just remember feeling so defeated. I
Hmm.
was like, oh my God, like I got caught. I like, how am I going to do this again? Like, what? Um, and it was really like a struggle because then my mom like watched every single thing.
Yeah.
She threatened me with not being able to go back to camp.
Hmm.
Because this was near the end of the year. She brought me into the doctor's office, and there was a female. I want to say she was a PA, but I genuinely don't remember. All I remember it was not my childhood doctor, it was a woman.
Hmm. Hmm.
And she basically like sat me down. She's like, this is going to affect your period. This is going to affect fertility. Like you are causing irreparable damage.
Hmm.
Um, and I had to get weighed every week.
Hmm.
after that. Like in camp, I had to go to the nurse's office and get weighed. My counselors were in on it. They knew how much I had to
By the way,
eat. Like,
you were so not the only one. Like I know a lot of people that have to do this in camp. Just saying.
yeah, like I know now. Like
Yeah.
one summer I was working in the nurse's office, and like a girl came in super embarrassed, like, I need the nurse. I have to go. And I was like, okay, like we'll go
Yeah.
take you to the private room. We'll
Yeah.
do it.
Right.
Don't look.
Right.
Like
Right.
I like told her, I was like, don't look at the scale. Like that's not like
Right.
this is we're gonna keep it. Like you don't have to look.
Right. Right.
Um, which was like the biggest thing for me was looking at the numbers on a
Right.
scale.
Right.
Um, like I used to go into my parents' bathroom and they had the oldest scale in the world, but I used to go on it every single day, like
Parents,
insanely
get rid of
OCD
your
about it.
scales, please. Please don't have scales. It's
I
terrible.
mean, thinking back, the scale was definitely inaccurate. Like it was so old, it might have come out of one of their parents' house.
Probably.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, that was like, I guess like the breakdown of all that. Um, I genuinely don't remember if I started seeing a therapist then. I think I did. And she was not a great therapist. Um, I went to the OHEL building and I got set up with this therapist who I don't regret anything that we did there. But I don't think it gave me any tools to help with what was actually going on. It was more of a distraction.
She wasn't an eating disorder therapist, right?
No, not at all. No,
Right.
like her main focus was about like my depression and
Right.
anxiety,
Right.
which like I guess kind of peaked in 11th grade, which like I feel bad that like I'm jumping grades, but like
No, it's okay.
11th grade
I kind of get it.
11th grade was I don't want to say the worst year of my life because I I think I just don't want to say that, but it was a really bad year. Um, I was not in school. Didn't really
By the
show
way,
up to school.
by this time, did your friends know? Like by this time, did anyone outside your family know?
So by this time, my friends had figured out the eating disorder aspects. One of my best friends actually has informed me years after that she used to call my other friend every single night because she didn't go to our high school and get an update on me every single day
Mm.
because she was like, we went out to eat. Civi usually gets a broccoli slice and a spinach slice. She didn't get any pizza. She got a diet Snapple. What is going on? Um, and I love her for it. But yeah, she
Mm.
used to have like a conference call. It was like it was so legit. We had three people on the phone at once. It's like, great.
Friends pick
I'm
up on
so
these things,
happy.
you know, like when you eat, people used to eat pizza and now they don't. Like people pick
Hmm.
up on it, you know?
Yeah. So I was like, I think I was very happy that they had picked up on that and not other things.
Hmm.
Because at this point, there was definitely like, yeah, you're definitely gonna need trigger warning. There was definitely like self-harm happening.
Hmm.
Um, and that didn't come out to like 11th grade. I was rarely in school. I didn't like I was having panic attacks every day, like not in school. I was sitting next to a girl and I was starting to have a panic attack.
Hmm.
And I get super hot when I'm starting to have a panic attack. My body's in overdrive. I went to roll up my sleeves and she must have seen
Hmm.
something.
Hmm.
And she went, the assistant Hebrew principal is a family friend. I don't know if she's from Scranton or Chapman's Lake, one of the two, but she's like
Yeah,
friends with my family.
I don't know who that is,
Um,
but okay.
and she went to her and she called my dad.
Hmm.
And that's when like I think everyone kind of realized like, okay, it's more than just an eating disorder. Um, and it was like everything just kind of like blew out. Like everything went down. Um, it was like intense therapy. I started seeing a psychiatrist.
Hmm.
I was on medication. Like I was taking Klonopin every day from for
Hmm.
panic attacks. Like it was just a lot.
It came to a head,
Um,
like the eating disorder was out of control.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
everything was out of control, the anxiety, the depression.
everything.
So that's what happens, you know?
Yeah, everything was out of control, and I didn't want to ask for help because I didn't want to admit anything was wrong. Um, but it got to a point where it was just so, so bad.
Hmm.
And like my dad bribed me with a trip to Israel if I went to school for a week. And I did. I went to Israel for the first time, and I was never someone who connected with prayer. Still to
Mm,
this day, like I really struggle. I sat at Kever Rachel for an hour and a half, just davening.
mm.
And
This was
I think
11th
that
grade.
this is 11th grade. My brother was in Shana Bet, so that was like his excuse for going. Um, but yeah, it was just crazy where that was winter break and I had gone for a week. I still didn't go to school after. Um, it was really, then everyone wanted to blame the anxiety on school. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's just too much, like regents and
Mm-hmm.
tests and everything. And I hadn't studied for regents. Like it wasn't a
Mm-hmm.
stressful thing. Like I didn't
Right.
study, I passed, like
Mm-hmm.
I was doing fine in school.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just the easy thing to blame.
Right.
Um, so my therapy then really was just surface level.
Mm-hmm.
It was trying to get me through the day, like not dealing with any trauma or anything. And I really, like, I shouldn't have graduated high school. I tell all my friends, I was like, I know everyone hates regents in New York State, like state. Without them, I would have failed high school. Like
True. Yeah.
they couldn't like legally hold me back. I took the
Yeah.
required regents.
Right.
I
Right.
got my diploma.
You also didn't like attend school so much in 12th grade, or it was just 11th grade?
12th grade. So I didn't really attend in 12th grade. I was definitely not as bad as 11th grade because by then I was on like a regimen of
Mm-hmm.
therapy and medication
Right.
and things like that. And I think like every 12th grader, I was checked out,
Mm-hmm.
even though I was checked out since ninth grade.
Right.
Like my school was very big on senioritis.
Mm-hmm.
Like the teachers were calling it that by like the third day of school.
Right.
So I don't know, 12th grade is kind of like a blur to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I tried to get involved. Like I was officially a yearbook editor. Um, I don't remember doing much. I think I maybe
Mm-hmm.
sent out like two WhatsApp texts and I was like, I'm a yearbook editor.
So wait,
Um,
but let me just ask you a question. Ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, that's 4 years. Did you
mhm.
have the same friends? Like, were your friends supportive? Did
Yeah,
they like come visit
yeah.
you?
I had a group of friends. They were amazing. Um, I'm not really in touch with them now, just because like after seminary, like like I don't know if this is just me or like I don't know, like groups of friends completely changed. If I see any of them, like I could talk for hours, but like we're
You have a
not
lot of
up to
friends,
date with each
Tzivi.
other.
Like a lot. Like at your shower, I was like, oh my gosh, whoa. And also like the new
Oh, for sure.
bridal shower games were fun. Like I'm
Which
old.
one?
With the shoe? That's
That's not
new.
new.
Yeah, it's new. Yeah, I've been married for 12 years. I've never seen that.
Well, you guys just did a video. I don't know if that's like new or just like different circles.
No, I had friends in all circles, and I still have
I
friends in
don't
all circles. I'm telling you, it's a new game.
know because I remember you recording your like you answering questions in the car ride up to Rochester.
Oh yeah, yeah, right. You were with me. That's really funny. Right, because I'm 33. And how old are you?
I'm 23.
We're like such a different generation, but like we're not anymore, you know?
Yeah. Like
Just the
we're a
way it
different
is.
generation, but like I grew up with you around the house.
Right. Yeah, but you were like so little. Like I got married at 21, so that means that you were 11.
Gila, you taught me how to straighten my hair.
I did.
Yeah, and
That's
I burnt
really
myself
funny.
every single time I tried.
Oh God.
You got me a wet to dry
You're saying I
straightener.
did it, I taught you, but I didn't really teach you. Like
Yeah, no, you definitely failed in teaching, but it was a wet to
also because I
it
have
was a
this isn't my hair, but I'm saying I have like the straightest hair ever, and I would still like
yeah, and
straighten it.
I had brew like I
Right.
have afro.
It's so funny that
Yeah.
you remember that. I do not remember that.
It
I'm
was
sorry.
red.
But really, think about it. Like if I lived at your house when I was 18, you were only 8.
Yeah, that was
Um,
little.
That's really little. And I didn't even know that this was going on throughout your whole high school, which is like sad for me because I wish I would have been
Yeah.
able to help you. But I get it
I mean,
also.
like, yeah. I remember, I want to say it was like 4 years ago, when, like I first told you about everything that went down. you started apologizing profusely because throughout high school you used to comment
Oh
about
yeah,
how I had lost weight.
I remember very clearly.
I like you apologized profusely. And I was just like, no, like totally nothing to apologize for.
I
Like
actually
in the
kind of
moment,
remember that, like saying like, "Oh my gosh, you look amazing. You lost so much weight. How did you lose it?" And first of all, this is just so funny. You're like, "I can't tell you. My mother doesn't let me tell," which is like amazing that you're like so respectful of your mother. I'm like, okay, but I think after you said that, I was like, wow, I really shouldn't tell young girls that they lost weight. Meaning, obviously now I know that this is like your whole
right.
like life's mission, but like even then, like I was like,
Yeah.
like you know, like
Yeah. And like I remember it like I remember like giving you that answer and I'm like, "Ah, I'm so smart. No one knows."
right. As I mean, once you said that, I was kind of like, oh, I guess Tibby is struggling with that, you know?
Yeah, but in my
So
head I
yeah,
was like, "Oh,
right,
I'm so
right,
smart."
right. It is really so sad though that like I mean that's where my like kind of journey started also in high school where like people would compliment
Mhm.
my weight loss. I mean, I was trying to lose weight and and like especially for somebody who's like struggling with like low self-esteem or whatever, they're not good at school, they don't have like a specific talent that they're good at. It's like, oh, my talent is like I can be skinny, which is so sad, but like
Right.
that's just what happens.
Yeah. And like I don't even think like that was like to me, I was just like, look at the self-control I have.
Right.
Like I
I'm
was
so
just like,
proud.
yeah, I didn't eat until 12 every day. Like that was like if I ate before then, I was like really disappointed in myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, except for coffee. Coffee trumps
Of
everything.
course. Yeah, of
I
course.
mean, coffee's not food. It's sustenance.
Of course. Especially if you're a Politoff, it's like
Oh my gosh.
just the smell, I know.
Fresh
Le
roast.
chocolat, le chocolat. So, so what, where, we don't have so much time left, but how did you
Mhm.
get from there to here?
Um, so it was definitely not an easy path. I struggled immensely in seminary, even though like everyone's like, oh, seminary, the year of your life. Um, yeah, no, I did not do great. Didn't do great in
I
seminary.
can't believe you were even allowed to go to seminary.
So my therapist had convinced my parents that that was the smartest move for me to have the
Mm,
independence. Um, Thinking back, yeah, no, I definitely shouldn't have been allowed to go to seminary. Um, but I became I became such a different person. Um, was I in the best place? No, but besides for the fact that I made some really good friends, um, by then I wasn't really struggling so much with my eating and anything like that. I was actually helping two girls who had struggled with who, like were actively struggling with an eating disorder. They had like come to me because I'm so open. I'm so open about everything. Like I told one of my friends, I was like, the people that read books and then make spark notes, they're doing it to help everyone else. So if I went through things and I can help anyone else, why not?
you didn't
Like
share it with me. Like you didn't seem like an open book.
when?
I'm saying like when you were, I didn't know that you struggled in seminary. I didn't know any of that until you like told me. Like I wouldn't have, like
Right, because like you said
because I'm
before,
your
you're 10
cousin.
years older than me.
Right. To me, I
Like
just
we
thought you
weren't
were like
like
really, no, I just thought you were private about it. Like especially, it's funny because especially I remember you
no.
telling me like, oh, my mother doesn't let me say. Like I was like,
Well,
okay, I
that was
guess.
also high school.
No, I know, but still, it wasn't like we've hung out like at Cheva like family Cheva Brachos. There's like a million of us,
Yeah,
like and
there's so
like
many.
we schmooze. Like you would think that it
Because it
would come
never
up.
came up.
I'm just saying, like I'm a dietitian. You know what I do. Blah blah blah.
Yeah. Well, I guess like I don't know, I guess in my head, like you're a dietitian, like clearly you
Right,
know about all this. So like
right,
what can I do to help you?
right. But
Um,
you're saying like anyone who would bring it up, you were totally fine to share.
yeah. Yeah. If
Mm,
anyone were to like ask me like, "Oh, what was your high school experience like?" Like that was my letter to seminary. It was like tell something you struggled with. And I wrote my entire high school experience. And the rabbi sat down. He's like, "Well, that was a lot." I was like, "I just want you to know what you're getting yourself into."
was it
Like I
Rabbi Fix?
wasn't shy. It was Rabbi Fix.
Yeah, we went to the same seminar.
Yeah.
Lots of Powerpuff Girls there. Um, okay, seminary, but okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to do part two because like
Okay.
people listening are gonna think like I wasn't so okay in high school and then I was okay. Not that you were so okay, but
No.
like the eating stuff just kind of like resolved. No, obviously not.
It no, it definitely didn't resolve. I think that the eating was more of a different way of me coping with things, and I just found other ways to cope that still weren't healthy,
Right.
but and, like, it sounds crazy, and, like, I know that this isn't how a lot of people go. I just got so tired.
Hmm.
I got so tired where I was just like, "Whatever." Like, if I'm not happy, why do I have to care about my body? Like, it definitely went to a point where I was just so
Interesting.
miserable about everything that I was like, I don't even have the energy to
Yeah.
focus on this."
Right. That's
So,
common.
yeah.
That is actually common. Like, but eventually, like the anorexia is just so exhausting. It's like, how much can I do
Yeah.
this already?
Yeah, it was definitely more like that. I was just like, "I'm just so tired." And I can't even, like, get out of bed, let alone, like it's a lot of work and calculation going into
Right.
things.
Right.
Because, like, to me, I was like, "Okay, like, I know that I get shaky, so I have to have a little bit of this, and, like,
Hmm.
how much am I gonna have to make sure that it's not too much?" Like, there was calculation, there was definitely a thought process,
Yeah.
and I just got too tired.
Why do you think seminary was so bad?
Um, I think it was so bad because I decided to take myself off medication.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That'll do it.
W without the proper support. Um, I was being, like, jumped around therapists in Israel, um, because they just weren't a good fit. Like, just like a shidduch has to be a good shidduch,
Hmm.
it wasn't working with therapists, and it was just really hard
You
being in a
went
different
off of
country.
medication going into Israel? Like you went
No.
into
In Israel, I just decided to not take it anymore.
why?
I forgot for a few days, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm totally okay."
Right.
And then, like, slowly but surely, it was just, like, very
Not
obvious that I wasn't.
right. Did you get back on the medication while you were in Israel?
It definitely went on and off. Um, I I wasn't on it, like, consistently in Israel at all, but I came home in the summer, and I was back on my medication. I was super healthy, in a great mindset, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I could do Shana Bet. I can make up for Shana Aleph. Like, I'm gonna go to every single class. I'm gonna thrive." And then I went back to Shana Bet, and after a month, I was off of medication again.
Were your parents like nervous wrecks sending you to Israel?
No,
Like
because I was lying to them,
you
and they
hid it
know
well.
now that I was lying to them.
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, yeah, no, I'm totally, like, I'm going out, I'm going to
And they
these
believed
classes."
you?
Yeah, because yeah, I don't know.
And
They
then
did.
okay, so then you go back to China and you were also not okay.
Yeah. I was not okay. I actually almost left early.
Hmm.
I almost left early, but then, funnily enough, I broke my wrist,
Of course you did.
and I broke my wrist, and it was kind of like a wake-up call to me, where I was like, "Okay, like, I'm in this cast for 3 months. At the end of 3 months, I'm home.
Hmm.
Like, I have this amount of time, like, this is all I have left."
Right.
And I kinda, like, kicked it into high gear, um, and when I came back from Shenebet, 2 months later, COVID hit,
Oh
and
my gosh.
everything I had worked on was done.
Right.
It was done. Yeah,
So
even though I
COVID
went
was
straight
probably
to
not
work.
fun.
COVID was not fun. I am lucky because I was working. I
Hmm.
started work right when I came back from Shenebet. My mom got me a job at JCC.
With her.
Well, no, I wasn't in her class.
But you were but she was working there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had a ride to and from work.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
and I was working through COVID. I would have a Zoom every day. Like, I had not like the craziest of schedules. Like,
Right.
I definitely had too much free time, but
Yeah.
I was on a Zoom every morning. I made videos every day. Like,
Structure
I
helped
was
you.
doing things. Yeah. Structure definitely helped me. Um, and actually, unfortunately, I kind of started like binging
Hmm.
because, like, after every small thing I did, I was like, "Oh, I deserve a treat."
Hmm.
And I just felt so bad about myself
Hmm.
because even though I had like kind of gotten through like the anorexia and the bulimia and everything, my self-image and like body dysmorphia was at an all-time low.
Hmm.
So even though I wasn't actively doing anything about it, I felt absolutely terrible in my skin. Like I
Hmm.
didn't like I made these videos and I couldn't even watch them to make sure that like everything was okay. I was just like,
Hmm.
whatever, I'm sending these, like they'll get approved or they won't, and
Hmm.
that's it. And it was just like the worst feeling of not being able to look at myself. Like to this day, I haven't seen like my full body in like a mirror.
Hmm.
Like to this day, which is not great. But
Right. Right.
yeah. Yes.
So, so yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say that binging after anorexia and bulimia, even years later, like it's a
Mhm.
compensatory weight gain or compensatory eating is like very normal because like a body needs a certain amount of stores of food, you
Mhm.
know? And if it ever feels threatened, then it will do a lot to make sure that that never happens again. So the binging is actually really normal, even if it's years later. But there we do also binge to like self-sabotage and punish ourselves. So that could also have just when we feel bad about ourselves, we're like, okay, fine, I'll just eat horribly, whatever that means, quote unquote,
Mhm.
because it feels horrible.
Yeah.
It's not even matching the internal. Um, okay, so then what happens? Because now I first of all, I just want to say one thing. It's already 10:15 at night, so we could go
Wow.
for like a few more minutes. But the
Okay.
one thing that when you came over on Perm and
Mhm.
we spoke about a little bit on texting is like the mikvah, which I don't want to like get
Mhm.
into too much, but I wanted you to kind of like now you're married and
Yes.
you married a great guy, Isaac, and I want to hear
Yes.
like how that came to be and like also like your journey with him, sharing with him about your eating disorder and stuff
Mhm.
like that, like how that went. Had he ever did he know anything about eating disorders, but then you'll fast forward to like the mikvah part.
Okay. So I met him, his sister texted me, actually during nap time, and she's like, "Are you dating?" I was like, trying to. Like, here's my brother. And I was like, great, we're gonna go out. Um, Actually, our first date, he took me on two first. He took me to 16 Handles for the first time and Dave and Buster's for the first time.
So
It was
cute.
like the perfect date. Um,
Really
yeah.
cute.
So we went on our first date on December 26th of 2021.
My anniversary.
I know.
I couldn't believe it. 2021. So that was
I
3.
did babysit. I did babysit. I
Oh, right.
came back
Yes, you
from my
babysat.
date and I babysat. And the entire
Yes.
time I was looking at my phone, I was like, is he gonna text me? Is he gonna text me? Is he gonna text me?
Oh, yeah. After that, you never babysat again.
No,
Right.
never again. Um,
You were really
and
busy.
oh, very, very
Yeah.
busy. We dated for a year and
So right
then
away, wait, right away, you were comfortable with him and you liked him?
yeah, yeah. After like my first date, I was like, oh yeah, like this,
I mean, you
yeah.
guys really are the cutest. Like, you really are like match made in heaven. No, you are. Come on. Like, it was chemistry right away, I'm sure.
Yeah, and like we just like even to this day, we just have fun.
Yeah. You're really
We just
cute.
have so much fun together. So we dated for a year. We got engaged actually on December 25th of 2022.
Wait, so
Um,
did you during that year, did you tell him before you got
so
engaged?
during that year, we had definitely discussed a lot, but and like to this day, I say Baruch Hashem, he didn't understand it. Like
Hmm.
everything had never been anything like he had dealt with before, which might sound crazy that I'm saying Baruch Hashem, but like I'm just so happy he didn't have to experience anything.
Right.
I had brought him to my therapist actually for a few sessions, to try to have someone else explain things. Because my current therapist is amazing. I love her. And she helped me explain, like, he didn't even understand what like depression is. He's just like,
Right.
oh, so you were sad. And I was like,
Right.
ooh, it's a lot more. So she was amazing in helping to like explain everything and kind of like explain to him that sometimes, whether I want to or not, no matter what's going on in the world, I can have everything going perfectly and be having the most amazing time. I will sometimes just get like down and I can't even explain it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And no problem.
He's probably like shopping or something. And he's being, okay, so yeah, I heard you.
And it was like so hard to explain like the nuances of like I can start to panic and not know what I'm panic about.
Right.
Like I will sometimes my leg will start jumping or like my hands will start twitching and I know I'm going into panic mode, but I don't know what triggered it. Like
Hmm.
I'm just like, wait, we're sitting down eating ravioli. What is going on? Um,
Were you scared to tell him?
um, at first I was a little scared because I was like, "Ooh, I really like this guy. Like I don't want him to like run away." Um, but then I was just like, well, you know what? If he runs away, he wasn't the one. And I'm
Right.
very happy he didn't run away.
Right.
He actually experienced the sickest before we got engaged. I had a really just like downfall. And he kind of experienced it firsthand. Where like we went out and I did not want to be anywhere. I wanted to be in my bed, not talking to anyone. And I think that kind of like scared him a little bit, as like it would scare anyone. And after that, like I really like I told him I was like, okay, we're gonna go talk to my therapist, and like she's gonna help you explain that it has nothing to do with you.
Right.
As much as like I like I love you, and
Hmm.
I do like I always want you to be there. Like it had nothing to do with you. Like
Right.
everything was great. Like
Right.
there's sometimes times where you just can't explain.
Yeah.
Um, so he was the most supportive about it. Like
Wow.
the most. Yeah, no, he's great.
So nice. Really, really
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
So, but I have another funny question. Um, this is just like always what like pops out at me. Were you like nervous for like his mother to find out, like his family to find out about that stuff?
I was a little nervous, but then like his family's amazing. I love them. Like we were just there last night and I sat and like just chilled with his sister in the basement. We were watching a movie together. Like he was playing video games with his brother. Like we're so comfortable there and his mom is amazing.
She's so
Like
sweet.
I had a bit of a fear at one point, but then I was like, wait, like this doesn't define me. Like
Wow.
she knows who I am, and if she knows
Right.
that I have some struggles, like
Right.
it's totally fine because that's not me.
Right. Wow.
It might have been what helped like build me and bring me to where I am today, but
Hmm.
that's not me. I'm not defined by that.
It's really beautiful to be like very profound. See, I think this is true. A lot of times when like people go through something like what you went through, like as a really young kid, and it sounds like it was a bunch of years, let's say seventh grade till now, there's,
Yeah.
like you're still struggling. Um, but you like get the therapy that you need and you get the mental health support that you need and you're like open
Mhm.
about it and you're like exactly what you just said, like you go to therapy, like you admit that there's an issue, you get what you need, you go on medication, like those are the strongest people mentally.
Yeah. It's really like this is what I've been like, it's like my motto. It's okay to not be okay.
Right.
And we're like, that's where sometimes, yeah, in certain aspects of my life, I'm not okay with it. Like, I
Right.
don't feel great about it, but I'm
Right.
okay with that.
Right.
Like, it's sometimes okay to be uncomfortable.
Right.
And that's what, like, I think some people just don't understand. It's okay
For
to
sure.
not be okay.
Right. Right. A lot of us are conditioned to think like if you feel like, if you feel anything, if you feel sadness or even depression, or if you feel like lonely, it's like, oh my God, like do something, like eat something, or play a video game or
Hmm.
whatever. And it's like one of the biggest things is just like, yeah, I'm just feeling really depressed. Like just to admit
Yeah.
it and say it and
And
feel
that's
it, and
okay.
that's okay. Yeah, totally. At least we're getting better. Our generation's getting better at that.
Yes. A lot more
And
understanding.
it was definitely not like that when I was like your age, even
Yeah.
now, 10 years later, I'm so old. I'm embracing my old age.
No,
Um,
never.
yeah. But so
In the
so
words
what
of Aunt
happened?
Shawnee, you're catching up. She tells me that every year on my birthday,
Oh, it's so cute
that
because
I'm
you guys have
catching
the
up to
same birth.
her.
Well, you have the same birthday.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so what happened when you got married? Like, let's say, like, yeah, just what happened?
So definitely, like if you're okay with like the mikvah, like it was
Yeah, sure.
definitely a huge struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I thought I was the only one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because like I had said before, I haven't seen my body and it's not something where I'm ready to. because I'm so aware of the fact that I do distort what I see,
Mm,
like I know that what I'm looking at isn't what everyone else sees.
right.
And the way I've gotten to this is because I remember what I thought I looked like in 10th grade,
Right.
and I look back at pictures and I'm like, that is so not what I saw.
Yeah, totally.
Um, so that has been like a huge struggle for me. And like the idea of mikvah is that like you're prepping your body to do such an amazing mitzvah. And it's a
Mm,
mitzvah that I love. And it was something that was so hard for me to be like, okay, this is something that I'm not the most comfortable with, like being my body. And I'm supposed to be getting it ready for one of the most beautiful mitzvahs. Like, how am I supposed to do this? And it's definitely something that I've struggled with. Um, and I thought I was the only one because, like, in college classes, they're like, yes, the mikvah, it's
hmm.
amazing.
Yeah.
And like, they prep you for other uncomfortable things, but
Right.
not that.
Right. Right.
And I thought I was like alone. And I was just like, okay, fine. Like, I spoke to my therapist about it, but like, whatever. Like, it's just me. It's fine. And I actually had a few friends who know about what I've gone through that have recently gotten married. And they asked me, they're like, do you know, like, how do you do it? Like, I
Hmm.
feel so uncomfortable. And they've never struggled with any
Right.
sort of body image or anything. They're like, how do you do it? Like, how can you do it? And I told them my famous line, it's okay to not be okay. And I told them, I was like, when I'm there, like I'm not focusing on that. I'm focusing on the fact that I'm getting ready to go do something that's amazing.
Mm,
And I don't check. Like I have a with lady. And
right.
I tell her
Right.
flat out, I was like, I can't like,
Right.
and they're amazing. Like
Yeah.
ladies that work there are amazing.
Yeah.
And it's something that really isn't spoken about, which like I understand why, but
Hmm.
at the same time, it's such a shock to a bunch of young girls that
Right.
nowadays it is much more common that girls have
Hmm.
struggled with that and girls do struggle with body dysmorphia. That like I think it's something that more people have to talk about the fact that you're taking such care and preparing your body, which is something that's supposed to be getting ready for a huge mitzvah, but a bunch of girls don't love their body, which like it's so
Right.
hard to be like, how do you care for something and prepare it and beautify it when you don't care about it?
Or you don't love it,
Yeah.
or you feel like disgusted by it. That's like a whole
Hmm.
different level.
Yeah.
So is it like, to get technical, I guess, is it like the fact that like the mitzvah of preparing for the mikvah is all about like how your body is, your
Yeah.
like your undressed body, like every
Hmm.
single area of your body. So it's like just
Yeah.
being so present with that.
Yeah. It's like being the fact that like, okay, the whole preparation of the mikvah is all to do with the physical.
Right.
Like spiritually, you are supposed to be getting ready, but like there's a bunch of physical things that you have to do where like it's not comfortable to. Like the idea of like when I first started getting like learning about it and they're like you have to sit in the back and I was like, "What? Like what are you talking about? Like
Right.
that's not no."
Right.
Um
Right.
and there's a bunch of physical things that you have to do which kind of make it harder to focus on the spiritual
Right.
because there's a checklist. Like if
Right.
you're there, there's a whole
Yeah. And there
checklist.
is, yeah.
And
Yeah. Would you say
it's
that, I don't know if this was your, sorry, there's like a tiny bit of a lag, which is weird because it was working the whole time. Would you say that you don't have to say, but would you say like asking a Rav is like really important? Because like I'm sure there's heterim for that.
yeah, so I have a rep that I text all the time. He doesn't know my name, but he definitely has me on like one of his top texts. Like he's one of my pinned messages.
Is it
Um,
is it a last name that starts with an S?
it is. It is.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Very
I'm
convenient.
pretty sure we all text him. Yes, he's
Yeah.
amazing. Amazing.
Um, yeah, so I've asked literally everything. Like
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. I think
Because
that's really
that was
important.
yeah,
Sorry
like
to
there
interrupt.
was it's fine. Because that was like a whole thing. Because one of the things I was told is that you have to check.
Right,
I was like, I can't, like I
right,
physically can't.
right, right,
And so that was something that I asked him. I was like, can I put it in the mikvah lady's hands? Because I
right,
know that it's supposed to be on me. Like, can
right,
I? And he actually reached out to the mikveh to get the okay from
Wow.
me. Yeah.
Mm, that's so special. I think that's really important for people to hear when it comes to any area of halacha, with especially with eating disorders like fasting on Yom Kippur. That was like
Hmm.
a really big deal when I had to tell a client that I really didn't think she should fast, or like here, like this is a brand new mitzvah. You're newly married, and it's
Hmm.
like these are the halachos, but it's like always ask a rav, just always ask a rav. Like there's so many heads. Not, I don't want to say like fish around for a head. I'm just saying that like whenever something is like really interfering with your mental health doesn't mean that you could do whatever you want, but like there's Rabbi understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's not fake. Like
Right,
it's
right,
real.
right,
And the Rebbeim just want to be able to help you achieve the mitzvah in a way that will make it the most meaningful for you.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, Tiffany, I'm wrapping up. It's 10:30 at night.
Okay.
I'm like sleeping and I hear people awake upstairs. So I'm gonna
Oh
wrap up, but thank
no.
you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. This was like so, so, so amazing and informative and profound and moving and so many things. So I just like love you as my cousin and really admire you.
Yeah,
And I really appreciate you sharing your story.
of course.
Okay, have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.